Welcome back, Year 7s. If I get your attention, please. I'm sure it's a very exciting conversation. Yeah? Great. Excellent. Welcome back to our unit about sky and people. So what we've been talking about is the intersection between the science of astronomy and the stories and Aboriginal history that's really important to our school and our people. Alright, so in some of our earlier lessons in this unit, which you haven't been to, but some of our earlier lessons in this unit, we've been talking about some important concepts and some things that you guys know. So one of the things we know is that the Earth rotates. So the reason that the Earth rotates is, well, the effects of the Earth rotating is because so that we have day and night. And we also learned some things about history, the Aboriginal history. So particularly learning about things like the different skills that people use to find out about how old things are. So they can be excavation, and they can also be radiocarbon dating. Okay. Today we're going to learn more about the rotation. We're going to talk about rotation around the sun of the Earth, and it's a bit weird. Okay. So one of the things that does as the Earth goes around the sun, does anyone know what that's called when the Earth goes around the sun? An orbit, yeah. And one orbit is how long? 365 days. Awesome work, Julie. So we're going to learn about seasons, and seasons are a side effect of the Earth's orbit around the sun. We learn about Aboriginal knowledge and the modern knowledge of the seasons and how it's really important, how it's all about perspective. And you're going to know that you've learned this because you're going to tell some stories about how the seasons work at the end of the lesson.
Great. So remember this picture? In the our introduction lesson, we kind of like look at the pictures and try to tell something about it. But today we're going to do something like back towards another table. So on the table you can see there's one image, and what you will do is you are going to draw a picture, a card. The card will have some word description about that picture. So you're going to draw one, and you're going to see what's on this, and you figure out which picture it belongs to. Then you go to that table and sit down, and you will have a new partner. Okay, now let's do this. One. Just go around, say which picture that fits in.
Have a look at the card, read the words.
Yeah, go
have a
around,
think about what it means,
take a look at those pictures. I'm sorry, you only have two left. Okay, you don't have to do this. Find the picture, right picture, fits with that description. Yeah, go around. So after you sit down, briefly introduce yourself to your new partner, and we are going to take a look at the picture and the description and grab the key information and try to organize that into one sentence. Discuss with your partner. Is that clear? Yeah, I think there might be...
Are we one chalk?
No, it's not the picture. You look at the description.
So read the words and try to
read
figure
the
out
words.
the
Read the words. Oh, yes. What's yours?
I'm very
I like this stuff.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the right words? Yeah, you turn it on. That's okay. Have a, oh, there you go, you do
The last lesson, the most one is very is dated back to 42 years old.
Let's move over to this one.
Yeah, that's a bit confusing. You should check.
So have you got your card?
Yeah.
And you figured out where you're going to sit? Okay, so you talk to each other?
Talk to each other.
Alright, so talk to each other. You've got to figure out what the key information in the riddle was that made you sit down at that table.
And all kinds of information. Discuss
guess I've already kind of in my mind.
Yeah, is that clear? Okay, is anyone ready for sharing? Okay, middle group, what's in your picture?
In a picture.
Your information in the description, I have a picture. What do you say?
So the picture is the sun. My riddle was I like to start from the east and rest in the west, and I assumed that was the sunrise and the sunset.
Yes.
I just started the fireworks at the beginning and the sunrise.
Okay, so let's model in this part. It's like, take this as an example. We want you to organize the information into one sentence. So there's two description. It means sunrise in the east, rest in the west, and it's in the morning and in the night. So sunrise in the morning from the east and set in the evening in the west. So that's how you organize your information together.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's the next group who's ready to share? Thank you.
We're good, I think.
Yeah, so
So we have the Earth, and so we've reached our
one sentence,
Yeah.
whatever.
So the Earth is home to humans, plants, animals, and because of its axis, it's to change to night and day.
That's
Great.
great.
Excellent.
Okay, who's the next group? Who's ready?
I am sometimes buried in the soil or being displayed in art galleries and museums. Scientists test my age according to which layer of ground I was found. In brackets, stratigraphy. So we have a picture of a pot, so which are sometimes displayed.
So what does that tell you in one sentence? So does that mean you can find something in the soil and use what kind of method to do what?
Yeah.
So
Age
say that again.
Dated.
Yeah.
I can date items in the ground by which layer they are located.
Great.
Excellent. So we can use excavation
Correct.
to
Yes,
look
that's
at the age.
in our last lesson, excavation. We can find out how old the item is by carbon dating or use the stray which layer of soil it's found to define which year level it's come from. Okay, so next group,
Anybody else want to share?
yeah, one sentence, two descriptors because you are supposed to discuss with each other and organize the information together.
I'm buried underground for around 42,000 years and waiting to tell stories that needed to be told. And should we read it?
It's like you just grab what's in that
Okay,
description.
so through excavation and carbon dating, you can find out that this guy's really freaking old.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the key information. We can use the carbon dating to find out how old the person is, and we can deduce what's happened in the past. That's in our last lesson, remember? Okay, the next group. What did you get?
Different seasons.
Yes?
So we said I separate a year into 4 parts and bring with me different things of nature according to the average temperature.
Great. So you got the seasons, and it has different temperature in different seasons, and normally there's laws that separate the year into 4 parts. Okay, great.
Awesome.
Awesome. Let's move to the next
All right,
part.
so how are we feeling? How are we feeling about the idea of connecting pictures and words? Do we reckon we're pretty feeling okay with that? A little bit? All right, well, I'm going to give you a practice, another practice. I'm going to ask you some questions about these 2 pictures. Now, there's no right or wrong. What I'm interested in is what your thinking process is. Okay? So, I'm going to give you a bit of an example. So, Miss Miller, where country do you think this is, these pictures?
It makes me feel like it's New Zealand.
New
There's
Zealand.
grass and land, but it could be Australia as well.
Could be Australia. Definitely, those are some good answers. I like them. So I'm going to open up to you guys now. What do you think is unusual about this place? Anything unusual about it? Some big rocks.
This kind of shape.
Yeah, so they're kind of in like a kind of V, circly, triangle kind of shape, aren't they? That's pretty strange. Wouldn't expect to find that, would we, if it was
Not
just in
naturally
nature?
occurring.
Exactly, that's right. So this is actually a place that was made by Aboriginal people. It was made by the Wathering people in Victoria, and it's called UniSA. Any ideas what it might be for? That's a tricky question. Gathering place, that's a good suggestion. Corroborate, that's another good suggestion. Any other ideas? It is pretty tough, this one. I like that. That's pretty much on, you're getting on the right track.
Oh, okay. Is it a calendar?
Could be a calendar.
To count the days.
Could be to count the days. I think you're getting closer. What's the sort of thing we're talking about in this lesson? What's the lesson objective we're talking about?
Plot the stars?
Close. Do I have a volunteer over there? The sun? When the sun moves around the sky.
Seasons.
The seasons. Excellent. That's the right one that I'm after. So the seasons are a way. This is a tool to look at how time passes. It's actually an Aboriginal observatory, and you can see here that we've got our lines of rocks, and they kind of come together, these two lines to this point.
Oh, shit.
So you would stand, language please.
Sorry.
So if you were the person using this tool, you would be standing here, and you'd look out into this field, and the way that these rocks were aligned is a very special place. It was in the right place and had the right perspective, that the person looking from this point could see how the sun moved across the sky at different times of the year. So when the days were very short, the sun doesn't stay up for as long, and it would be really far this way, which is to the north. And when it got as far as it could, when the sun set and that's as far as it went that direction, that would be the solstice, and that's how the people there knew that it was winter. And the opposite to that, when the days were really long and the sun set all the way over here to the south, it would be the summertime. And in the middle, there's another word here called equinox, and that's kind of the middle, when the sun's between those two places. And what sort of seasons do we know between summer and winter? Spring and autumn. Good work. Excellent. So, what do you reckon this might? Why would people make something like this? What could they do with this kind of information? Thoughts? Plants, yeah. So for a long time, a lot of people had the view that Aboriginal people were just gathering food, or they were hunting animals, and that's how they lived. Things like this suggest to us that the story is different. So this story suggests that they were actually planting plants, and they needed to know when certain plants were going to be available, or when they could plant seeds, or when there were going to be certain food available. And they could use tools like this to get that sense of the seasons. And they weren't thinking about summer and winter and autumn and spring like we do. They had their own seasons that were specific to their culture. We'll learn a bit more about that in our next couple of lessons about calendars.
So now, who's wondering how does seasons work? Why does we need to know there are different seasons, and why there are different seasons?
Because the moon, the sun changes the direction, so the sun, the angle to the earth is, so there's a certain range. So when they move, so they change the season.
Okay, that could be. Keep that in mind, and let's see how this guy says. And pay attention to, is there any tricky words you don't know? Identify them, we can discuss that later.
The seasons. It gets cold in the winter. Flowers bloom in the spring. We get lots of sun in the summer. And leaves fall in the fall. See, the Earth's seasons affect every living thing on Earth. That's right. Seasons affect the way everything grows and changes every year. The reason we have seasons on Earth is because the Earth is tilted. Now let's say that this is the Earth, and there's an imaginary line going through the middle of it called the Earth's axis. It's tilted, and it stays tilted as the Earth goes around the sun at 100,000 kilometers an hour. That's 1 billion kilometers every year. Now not only is the Earth going around the sun, but the Earth is spinning. And when you're in the part of the Earth that's toward the sun, it's daytime. And when you're in the part of the Earth that's away from the sun, it's nighttime. Now the seasons work in kind of the same way. When the part of the Earth that you're on is tilted toward the sun, it's summertime there. So when it's summertime here at Nye Laboratories, on the other side of the world, it's wintertime in places like South America and Australia.
Hey, Bill, your shoe's untied.
Oh, thanks. Then, when the part of the Earth that we're on is tilted away from the sun, it's wintertime here. And it's summertime on the other side of the world. Isn't that wild? All because the Earth's axis is tilted. That's the reason for the seasons. Why are the...
Awesome, guys. Now, did anyone hear any words they didn't understand? Yes, Julie.
Why do they call it autumn, like over here?
Oh, I see. So autumn could be a bit of a weird one. And what's the other word for autumn? Fall. So some people say that it's because the leaves fall off the trees, so that's a good way to remember what fall and autumn are. Any other tricky words?
Axis?
Axis, yes, axis. Does anyone know what an axis is? Midline, it's like an imaginary line through the Earth. And we're going to do a bit more of a play around with that in a tick, so hopefully it'll go there. Any more? Tilt. Who can show me a tilt? Nice, you're not just going circle. Exactly, so tilt's when it leans over. Did you want to talk about anything?
Yeah. So before
the
sorry.
season.
Okay, before we move on, I want you to show me how much did you get from these guys talking. Close your eyes. If you really understand totally what these guys talking about, show me 3 fingers. If you sort of understand, show me 2 fingers. If you really don't understand, just show me 1 finger.
Got to close your eyes.
Close your
It's very
eyes.
important.
Fingers? Okay, awesome, great. So most of you totally understand that, and some of you sort of understand that. That's great. So let's just further elaborate this part. So normally the Earth would orbit around the sun like this, and this circle here is called the orbit. The Earth is moved around the sun, and the axis here you can see is actually fake. It's imaginary. It's not there. It's just something we use here to help us to explain things. And because the Earth is tilted, it moves this way and keeps its axis tilted. So when it's moving to this part, you can see the sun goes towards the Earth's surface. And here, you can see this part clearly get more sunlight. That's why this is hotter and we call this summer. But for the northern hemisphere, does it go in the same sunlight as the southern hemisphere? No, right? So that's why this is winter, because they get less sunlight, it's colder. But when the Earth goes towards this part, oh, you can actually see the light here. Does the north and the south hemisphere got the different sunlight or the same? The same, right? They got the same sunlight. So basically, that's where the weather, the temperature is just cozy.
So I reckon should we have to turn it together?
Yeah, just this part, the next one is when the sun goes towards this side, and you can see the northern hemisphere got more sunlight, so that's summer, and the southern hemisphere got less sunlight, that's winter. Alright, great. So now we're going to do this together.
So I'd like you to all stand up, and I'd like you to all come up and stand in a circle just around the front of the class.
Yeah.
It's a strange looking circle. It has to be a
Wow.
circular circle. Alright, so we've got to hold the Earth, keeper of the Earth. So we're all going to be the Earth today. What do you think I'm going to be? The sun. Why? How do you know that I'm the sun? And what does the Earth do? It rotates around the sun. So should we practice rotating the Earth around the sun? So you can pass from one person to the other. See if you can go as fast as you can. Okay, we're trying to keep the Earth pointing straight up. Alright, and now when I shine the light on someone, you're going to answer a question. Or you're going to stop. So, the first question I've got is, where is Australia on this globe? Awesome. All right. Keep going. Keep passing. Where is the North Pole?
There.
And is it the top or the bottom of the Earth?
Top.
The top. Awesome. So we're going to hold it just straight, so the North Pole's sticking straight up into the sky. And keep passing. All right, so I'm going to shine the light. Where can everyone else, now the good thing is if you're holding me, you don't have to ask the questions. Everyone else has to ask questions. All right, so if I'm shining this light, where is most of the light falling? It's on this side. Is it on the top part or the bottom part, or kind of the same?
In the middle.
In the middle, that's right. So if it was in the middle, the top part and the bottom part are getting about the same amount of light. So this would be kind of autumn or spring, depending. All right, keep passing around. Stop. Now the Earth's moved halfway around the sun, but if I keep shining here, where's most of the light? You sure? Still in the middle. So this is because we haven't tilted the Earth. So if the Earth kept going around the sun and it wasn't tilted, there wouldn't be any seasons. It would just be the same all the time. So now what I'd like you to do, what I'd like everyone to do is do a bit of a tilt. Can everyone show me how much they think the Earth tilts over? About 23 degrees, about there. So when you pass the Earth around this time, you have to keep it tilted the same. Okay, I don't want to see it kind of tilt and then magically switch over this way. Okay, are we ready? Going to go as fast as we can. Go. Stop. All right. So the Earth's tilted. Which one's getting more light at the moment, do you think? The southern? And that would mean what? About the southern hemisphere. Summer. Excellent. Southern hemisphere. So it must be what in the northern hemisphere? Winter. That's right. Let's get going. Oh. All right. What about now? What do you reckon? Perhaps could be about the same. I think in both. Let's keep going and see where we get to. All right. We're keeping the tilt the same. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right. Now, where's most of the light? Now, do you reckon the days would be longer or shorter in the northern hemisphere at the moment?
Longer.
And how come?
It's got more light.
Facing.
Yeah, that's right. So as the Earth rotates, there's a lot more light to get to this part. Down here in Australia, it's down there. It's pretty dark, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's probably winter there.
What about daylight saving?
Daylight saving is a construct. It is a social construct. Awesome.
Because in South Australia we have it.
That's
but
true.
In other places in Australia we don't have
We
it.
do. You don't exactly. That's right.
Really?
Yeah, West Australia doesn't have it. That's right.
It was a wartime thing back in World War II. Winston Churchill implemented it during to get more daylight time so that the Allies could process more.
That is great. I think that is actually why it happened. It was about energy saving, and a lot of times when different governments have wanted to make the days go longer because they don't have to use so much fuel for like lighting and heating and things at night time, so we make the daytime go a bit longer and use as much of it as we can.
Daylight
While people are
savings is
awake.
man-made.
It is man-made.
Yeah.
They don't need it. They don't need it in Western Australia because
That's
if
right.
they had it in Western Australia, the sun would set at say 10 p.m.
Exactly.
And the sun rises at what 3:30. No, 5:30.
That's right. So sometimes if you look straight up at the sky when daylight savings is on, you won't see the sun straight above your head. You'll see it. You could be closer to the right. It's not actually really daytime. It's just daytime on clock, but not much time on clock.
Blown their mind.
Cool.
Yeah.
Blow mine.
Just-
Excellent. All right. Great. Thank you very much. You can go and jump back to your seats.
Alright, so what you just did is like we use different models, different ways to explain something that is not observable, that is naturally. We bring those into life, visualize them. And the next week we'll have year 1 classes coming over to observe our class. And what I want you to do is in pairs to come up with a story or something to tell, to explain seasons to the year 1s. And you're going to use different kind of resources here. Yeah, we have the colorful pens and the Play-Dohs and the foam balls and some skewers. You can use anything you want, and you You will have 5 minutes to do this, to use any model you can, and to come up with a story. Try to explain this to year 1 students. All right, off you go.
So you can jump up, grab anything that you might want to use to tell your story.
Potatoes.
It can be a story, it can be a picture, you can be creative. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
written
there are
down.
some white papers in the middle. Are we doing it in pairs? Yes, in
Yes,
pairs.
in
You need to write.
Yeah, okay, but 2 more things.
So remember to stop. Yeah. So remember to conclude the key information about the seasons. The earth is cold and
I'm just making see that.
I was gonna make flower. Yeah.
Yellow. Winter. Snow. Right?
So the key information we have known about seasons will be on the board. So if you're not sure, just check whatever on the board. That will help you. Make a flower. 1 minute.
I was just gonna make this red, so it's the sun.
Yeah.
I got this just good. Make a flower. Is that me? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, what were you gonna ask?
Key information is on the board, just in case you don't know. Yeah.
Sorry?
Thank you.
So remember when you're writing a story, try to get as
Yeah,
many of
that's
the
it.
key things in. We've got some key points in there that you can use.
Oh, that's
I'm making it red.
So they're the key things we talked about in our activity.
We also have some light if you want. Anyone want light?
Do you mind if we take pictures of you doing multiple?
Of course. I think we're okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Look
Anyone
totally
want light?
natural.
I love it.
Oh, it's not.
I need a beauty camera.
Maybe a view camera.
Anyone want a light?
Sorry.
Do you need a light?
Do this kind of thing. Oh, I'll put this on my face.
Well, I take it both.
No, no, no.
Our different seasons.
Okay.
Some good work going on this table. Like some good motion.
So crap.
How many?
Butterfly.
Yeah, that's right.
How do I do in powder? You want
Yeah.
an umbrella? This is
That is the
light.
one.
This is
What we need. It's a lot.
Simple way to explain what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut your story time a little bit shorter. It's gonna be 2 more minutes, okay, to think about your story.
What do you want me to put these?
Wait.
Summer. We do summer.
I'll take a photo of you. So it looks nice. It's like, oh, lovely.
Did you guys know that the Sphinx is built like that as well?
Yeah.
Oh, is it aligned?
Yeah, aligned to the equinox.
That's cool.
Yeah, so what happened is that they think it's older than it is,
Yeah.
because it used to be, do you know how we're age old areas?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they think it's older than because it used to be aligned,
Yeah.
and 14,
Oh, it's like the positions.
Yeah, so it used to be in the age of Leo.
Yeah, well, even now, I think like since Christ was born, it's one out, everything like that.
Yeah. So they think Mercury stone
Yeah.
as to when it was built. But the equinox comes right above it. Yeah, so the sun is right straight in front of it. So to see that,
It's crazy, yeah.
That's why that
And it still works too, like, I mean, you think that over time there'd be like some changes.
Yeah, like we are.
And so all those ancient cultures have the same because it's how
But by the time he turns all the way around and he's facing the sun.
Alright, finish up your models, guys. We're just going to do another activity to do with your models and stories now.
This was cute. Stop.
Alright, everyone, can I get you to take a seat? And just listen up for a tick. Thank you. Alright, you got a challenge now. Go and sit with a pair that's going to sit on a different table to yours. So you're going to try to explain your story as if those people were year ones. Okay? So you're going to switch tables. So everyone should be sitting at different tables from what they're sitting at now. Take your model and your story with you. And what I want you to practice is feedback, which is about giving people useful information about their work. Okay? So Mila, did you have any feedback for me when when we did our class thing?
I think in activity it's really great from the very community, but it would be better if you slowly put down, get everyone to talk, but mind the time's limit, so that's fine.
Great, thank you. So when you listen to that feedback, you heard something good and something that wasn't so good. So they're your two halves of good feedback. The feedback was honest. She didn't say, oh, that was so great, it was so wonderful, oh, everything was amazing. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that. That wouldn't be very helpful because it wasn't honest. And it was helpful. She gave me some specific things that I could change. Okay? So in that case, I should have slowed down a little bit. But that's what you guys are going to talk about. You can have a little conversation with each other, tell your story, and then the other pair, give some information about some feedback about whether they thought that's going to be honest, helpful, and has a good part and a bad part. Does everyone know what they're doing?
Yeah.
Awesome, go for it.
So,
I think that table, you can join them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have 5 pairs, so it's like
man.
It's a bit tricky.
we can do that together.
Make it work.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's
See his little face? See it? And his hat? So, let's... You want to know what something experience?
Can I go and listen to you guys doing your stories?
So this little man is the earth.
Yep.
See his little face? We live on his mouth, just about here.
Yep.
And his hat is what we call the northern hemisphere. So northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. So this is the sun.
Okay, we made a story.
Little man.
So this is sun.
Comes up to play
And he
with
had
the sun.
4 kids.
He likes to do
summer,
lots of
autumn,
he
winter,
likes to
and
ring
spring.
ring rosy.
Summer and winter hate each other.
Do you know what
so,
ring ring rosy is?
autumn and winter.
Lots of
autumn,
spinning,
spring,
turning, going back and
actors,
forth. So,
mediators.
if he's turning around here, remember
Summer has a hot
he's facing-
temperature.
If he's
Winter
turning
has a
around
hot
and he's
temperature.
facing the sun, what do you reckon he is? Hot? He'd be pretty hot if he's facing the sun. Hot. But if he turns, he's spinning and dancing, and his hat is facing the sun, he's not going to be as hot, is he?
So also do the self-rotation as well.
Yeah, he's going to be a bit colder, so it's like he's in winter. And then, but if he's turning and spinning around and he's facing halfway,
So when the you can see the sun
Actually, don't know scientifically if that's what we're in, but.
I'm amazed you got 3 pictures on one piece of paper.
So then we're in autumn, so it's a little bit hot and a little bit cold.
To the bit in the middle.
I like
The
it.
same amount of.
So, did you guys have some feedback?
Yeah.
Maybe if there's.
What do you think about Little Man
This is right.
and his journey around the sun?
The only downside is you didn't really have the.
Also
You were showing us
change
the
the
tilt.
daytime and nighttime.
Oh, but that's why his hat's
I suppose
tilted.
it was more just like when you were saying he rotates when he faces the sun, it's hot, but it's also
Is that
nighttime.
the second?
It sounds like.
Wait, is it feedback from year one or like?
Are we
No,
saying
like
this
this
is
from year 7 to year 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, year 7 to year 7.
Well, that would be my.
It's not.
Journey of a little man around the sun.
I like it.
I like it.
Right?
Yeah, your
You
background
can
is
see
images.
the
it
head,
made
the
me
axis.
really
This is my son in front of me.
Awesome. Right.
His
I
face,
don't know if
that
it's
face scares me.
I wouldn't say.
We're supposed to make a story.
That's so nice way you say it.
Yeah.
Good job.
I like the the images to it and stuff. That's really cool.
Good job, Anna. Okay, let's see you.
Well, ours isn't as creative.
Ours is not like.
But this is very smooth.
But me to man.
No, you're not.
Personify the earth.
And can you please look at
Okay. Yeah. Ours is not just. So here we go. We have the boiling hot sun. It's very red, very hot.
Right, did everyone get to share their stories?
this? Almost.
Yeah.
Almost?
Almost.
1 minute?
Okay. And then we have this green, blue ball, which is the because we know that our trees are green and that our oceans are blue. So that's the thing. When we turn around the earth, we say a particular tilt, and we run through these different seasons. So when we have stop. when we're close to the sun, what do we have to do?
Sorry?
When we're closer to the sun.
Summer.
Yes.
Why am I acting like you one?
And when we're back, what are we looking at next? And then when we're further away.
Alright, guys, can we grab your attention?
Yes.
We're kind of it.
We are kind of running out of time, so can anyone tell me what's the most important thing we learned today? What's the thing you learned today? How season check. Yeah, how does that work? Can you explain that to me? Depends how the sun is.
Yeah, where the earth is. And when
Yes,
the
so
sun is.
remember the most important thing is the tilt. Remember the video? The tilt? The season occurs just because the earth is tilted. So when the sun goes, it will have different amount of sunlight to different parts of the earth. So that's where there's different seasons. And the most important thing we need to also understand why seasons are important. In the observatory picture we showed you before, that's really important for Aboriginal people because they need to use that to tell them when it's time to plant, when it's time to go collect the fruits, go hunting, and everything. That's kind of part of their life. So I want you to go home and finish this sheet. Just the 3 simple questions to think about seasons and the Aboriginal people's lives. And bring that back next lesson. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I know what you would do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, love. It's just not.
Actually, so we just turn the feedback down?
Yeah, I cannot believe
I didn't know how seasons work.
It's just like a thing that doesn't really exist. It's like time.
It's like man-made lakes. We all know what's happening in man-made
Yeah, I
lakes.
think that might be trying
I think you're suspicious of that.
Bodies. How is it manageable?
It's not really, because you end up with things happening like, oh, let's have daylight savings.